Hey everybody, welcome to number 2 episode of season 3. All in, this is episode 39. And today is all about effective recruitment strategies, including successful onboarding. Now, I think if you're like most businesses that are trying to recruit, you probably think that recruitment is impossible, right? And I used to think exactly the same, but it doesn't have to be. Today, I talk to you through the processes that we use in order to generate at least 500 applicants for every role that we advertise, how we make sure we're getting the 1% of the 1%, because we want the absolute top people working here in our company. And I'm sure you do too. And let me tell you, it's not about skill. To find out more exactly how we produce our recruitment strategies and how we also make sure that every new recruit that comes into MBS is successfully onboarded into our culture and our team, and they get to feel part of the family as soon as possible. If you want to find out more, stay tuned. This is episode 39, Effective Recruitment Strategies, including successful onboarding, here at MBS Accountants. Previously on the Leaky Bucket podcast.
For us, during life pre sort of strategic planning, work life didn't stop at 5:30 for us. It carried on, and it could go for hours and hours beyond that. And that wasn't what we wanted. That wasn't what we set out to achieve, but it's what we built. But now we're in a position where there are little periods of time where that's a challenge, and we do have some extra bits we need to do. But in the majority, that doesn't happen.
Hi there, and welcome to the Leaky Bucket podcast. I'm your host, Ian Morgan, and this is the financial performance podcast for entrepreneurs looking to get a better understanding of their numbers, to plug the leaks in their business, and to move from surviving to thriving.
Thanks so much for joining us again on the Leaky Bucket podcast. Today I want to chat with Ian about recruitment and onboarding. So let's get started. So we've just welcomed 2 new members of staff, and in my opinion, they've integrated really well into the team. And that made me think about how our recruitment process facilitates that, and those times when maybe it hasn't worked so well. So I guess my first question is, could you just give a quick summary of our recruitment process at MBS?
Yeah, so our recruitment process now is very different than it has been in the past, and maybe we'll dive into that a little bit later on. But now the process very much works that it goes out onto a platform. At the moment, we're using Indeed to be able to do that. People are then applying in, and we're resisting the standard urge to go straight to CVs. So as soon as somebody's applying, we want to just get a base level of their skills to be able to do the job. So they go straight to a skills test.
Yeah.
From there, we try as much as we can now to ignore skills and experience and focus on culture fit and attitude. So we have then 2 interview stages that are around culture and attitude and how that will fit within our organisation, and then a little bit of testing to go, okay, but does their experience and their attitude and their culture fit all align up together, and can we really see them slotting into MBS?
Yeah. So what are some of your main focuses during that time? If you could kind of have a checklist, if it were, what would they be?
The main focus, I think, is don't get distracted by somebody's skills and experience.
Yeah.
It's so hard because obviously you're recruiting somebody to do a job, and so it's so easy to go, oh yeah, but look, they can do the job, they've done it for this long. But you're judging and getting that from a CV, which ultimately anybody can write anything they want on a CV. It doesn't have to be true. So it's test the base level of skills and make sure that we've got that there, and then it's just keep reminding ourselves and go, is this person living our values? We know our values, we see them every day in great people that we have here.
Yeah.
are they showing up like those great people? And it's just constantly reminding ourselves of that. Just higher on attitude.
Yeah. So how has the process kind of evolved? Like, what are the main changes? Like, how was it at the beginning?
Hugely. There probably wasn't a process at the start. It was just, we need people, just get them hired. But I think it probably makes most sense going to the point of where we learnt that attitude was key. It was then, how do we make sure that we get that right?
Yeah. And
there's been a number of occasions where we haven't, because we've been distracted by skills and experience.
Yeah.
So it's just making sure. Actually, it's a very good reason, right, that I'm not majorly involved in the recruitment process. Is because I will get distracted by skills and experience.
Yeah.
So as you're aware, we use Georgia and Sam heavily within our recruitment process, and that's because they are naturally very good at parking the skills and experience and just looking for but where's the culture fit here, and they will see different things and they will bounce off ideas off each other in terms of going, but I saw this while you were speaking, and I suppose that's an important factor. It's not always what the person's saying, it's how are they behaving when you're talking to them.
Yeah, because I guess you can say all the right things, but then how are they actually talking to you? Yeah,
and actually we've got, there was a key element actually with a member of our team, Jason, which we may end up talking about later, that the first question to Jason, and I hope you won't mind me saying it all, but the first question to Jason was getting him to tell us about like what he enjoys in his spare time and everything now. And he was clearly nervous, and he just sort of went for like this brief sort of life history.
Yeah.
But he had the presence of mind that as he come round to finish up and just go, oh, okay, so that's my thing. He went, oh my God, that is not even the question you asked. And it was that presence to go, hang on, I'm going to own this and go, right, I'm really sorry for just wasting your time and telling you all this stuff that you didn't need to know. What I enjoy in my spare time is this.
It's like awareness, isn't it? Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, just like, you went from like, ooh, let's give this person a chance. They haven't quite understood the question, haven't listened, but that's nerves, to, wow, like that's living our culture. Yeah, being open and honest, taking responsibility.
That like awareness that you've completely gone over the question.
Yeah. And it was just the turnaround within 5 seconds. Just went from that, this might be challenging, to, wow, this person's potentially really, really good. Yeah. Because to feel those nerves in that moment and then just go, but I need to own it. Yeah. Yeah. We knew we were onto something at that point. Yeah.
Because I've never experienced a work environment that focuses so much on culture. It's always been, can you do the job and can you do it well? So why is that so important in recruitment? I know you've gone over it a little bit, but maybe just a little bit deeper. Why is it crucial?
Because we've had, everybody's had that situation where they work with somebody who's great at doing the job, but they're just an asshole. And you just don't, nobody wants to be around that person. Nobody wants to help that person out when they're struggling, or that you sort of like, you just know that they wouldn't do the same for you. So it doesn't bring you to do the same for them. Yeah. So if we became, I think actually it's the complete opposite then of a team. If we had a group of individuals who were just looking out for themselves,
it's not going to work. There's no like bond.
No. Like if you had somebody else in the team came to you because they're struggling, chances are you're going to help them out because you know they'd do the same for you if you were struggling. If you don't have that because people don't live the culture, it's just disconnected. Yeah. And we've definitely been there. We've had that pain of having people who don't fit. And I think the important thing to note here is that doesn't make that person a bad person. No. It just means they're not right for us. Yeah. And they can go off and they can be amazing somewhere else because they end up in a culture that everyone else sees things the way they do. And that's great and that's fine. But for us, we need to remain strong to
your values.
Yeah. And I'm comfortable that I know, even though I might not have massive exposure to everybody in the team, I know I can get along with everybody in the team because I know what they believe.
Yeah. And you said earlier that you obviously do a skills test. What does that kind of involve? Because obviously it's different skills tests for different roles.
Yeah. I think it's very easy if you're... So, like, let's take my position, I suppose. It's very easy for me to go and look for somebody who has similar strengths to me. So if my role naturally is the client manager role, so it's coaching people, moving people forward to where they want to be and holding them accountable. Those skill sets will not show up in somebody who, if, for example, does your role, right? Your role is about structure, organisation, sort of being nosy, knowing everything that's going on and doing all those bits. That's naturally not me.
Yeah.
So the skills test is there to go, has this person got those underlying skills? Because if I try to do your job, I can do it, but it's going to be so painful because I naturally won't double check or triple check things. I'll just be like, well, it's done once, it's done.
It's fine.
Yeah. That doesn't work. Yeah. Like you can't, like if somebody says they provided the right ID or the right information or whatever, you need to check and make sure that that's the case.
Yeah.
Otherwise it will come back round and be a problem later on.
Yeah.
So the skills test each of the skills tests are written by people who are in those roles and they excel at those roles.
Okay.
And therefore they're the best people to test if people can do that role.
Yeah.
The important thing, however, is we are not looking for perfection because attitude has to win.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can get somebody with the right attitude, you can teach skills.
Yeah.
As long as there's a baseline. What you can't do is take somebody who's got excellent skills and then effectively reparent them to have the right attitude in the organisation.
Yeah.
But there's no point... So the reason we test skills, first of all, is because you need to have that baseline. There's no point in us going, this person's amazing, but they're just miles off being able to do that job.
Yeah.
Because how long do you train somebody for? What, a year, 2 years, 3 years? You need to be comfortable to go, they can do the base level, and then we work to get them to a high level.
Would you ever say that implementing the skills test kind of affects the extent to which culture is important? Like, is it kind of finding that balance between both of them, and is that difficult?
Yeah, I think it's very easy when you do that first review of the skills test that you just want to go, oh, that person's like amazing, and they've really hit the skills, and that person didn't quite hit that level. Maybe they've only hit 70 or 80% of what the other person hit. But then you go, hang on, you just got to remind yourself and go, if we just hired based on the skills test and we only allowed people through who got perfection, the real excellent culture fit people might not make it.
Yeah.
So it's not step one, must score 100% or must get near 100%. It's very much that baseline, which is quite loose.
Yeah.
But it's just to go, okay, we could work with that. We know how we could train and improve that person. Now let's have a conversation and see what they're like.
Yeah. So Jodie's just joined us.
Yes.
Like last week, I think. Yeah. And what aims do you what do you aim to fulfill in that first week of someone joining? Like, how do you really implement that, like, integration into the team, I guess?
Yeah. So I think key step, first of all, is no matter what character we bring in, day one is scary. Because you're the new person, you're going... We're aware now, like, we're a team of 12, I think, at the moment. If you're the one person coming in, you feel like the elephant in the room. Like, So, historically, what we've always done is, like, some online quizzes through, like, Kahoot or something like that. But actually, you've always experienced recently that we've switched that up to a work-appropriate would you rather. But it gives everybody an opportunity to talk. You don't just get the loud people.
Yeah.
And it also gives the new person opportunity to understand a little bit about how people work within the team, understand the people they're going to be working closely with, and also an opportunity for them to speak. But it feels like they know the parameters in what they're speaking with. They don't have to like shout up and go, hey, I want to make a noise.
Yeah.
If they're a bit quieter, a bit more introvert, that they can just go, well, okay, I'm just answering the question. So it's much more controlled. I think that's massive in terms of takes the pressure off on day one.
Yeah.
Then there's a quick introduction, usually with me, about this is the vision of the company, this is where we're going, we do strategic planning, and actually it's probably worth reversing slightly before that. Before somebody joins, they're already sent a bit of a welcome pack and introduction, along with the book that's about EOS, so they know how we operate as a business. So actually already on day one when they're arriving, they already have a little bit of like almost like a behind the curtains sneak peek already.
Yeah.
So then when I start talking to them about this is our strategic plan, this is what we're trying to achieve, this is where we're trying to go, doesn't feel too scary.
Yeah.
And then we're straight into processes, systems.
Yeah.
So it's into our air manual process, which is then just uncovering this is everything you need to know about working here, your role, your place in the organisation, and everybody else that's around, and introducing our values, what we're about, what we do.
Yeah.
So that makes that first day or two, it can be a little bit boring, I think, in terms of just going through information
and systems.
And doing all of that. But at the same point, there's a structure, and I think the very fact that we have that structure and that system and that process, I think, is reassuring to people in terms of like you've come in and you go, actually these guys do know what they're doing.
Yeah. And
everybody's quick to tell you and go, I'm really sorry, it's going to be boring these first couple of days.
Yeah.
But just push through it. And then it's sort of just getting into to see the team, understanding what's going on, seeing where your role fits, introducing to people. And then actually very quickly it's important that we have that 1 week catch up.
Yeah.
And it's just then to like, how is the first week going? Because you've probably come from, most people would have probably come from somewhere where there is no culture. Potentially they already knew how to do the job they were doing before very, very well. And now you've come into somewhere where you don't know what you're doing, you don't understand the organisation, you can feel quite lost. So I think that open sort of forum to just go, like, almost just like, like here's how I feel, in a safe space. Yeah, that isn't like, tell us all this stuff and oh my God, you're awful, you can go. It's just like, just tell us how you're feeling, because it's important.
Yeah.
And if you're feeling overwhelmed or you're feeling a bit lost, somebody can help you and do something about it.
Yeah.
So that first week is key, because how do you make somebody feel part of our sort of work, family and culture very, very quickly?
Yeah, and it must be tricky for people that come from a place that doesn't have that culture to kind of loosen up and realise, right, I can actually say that I'm struggling, because a lot of jobs don't enforce that. It's kind of like, ooh.
So how did that work for you? Because obviously you said you come from somewhere that didn't have culture and that before.
Yeah, because obviously I came from hospitality, which is very much you just turn up, do the job, you go home, and that's it. It took a while for me to kind of realise that I can say that I'm struggling, or I can say that, oh, maybe I've messed up on this one, you know?
Yeah.
But like you said, having that little bit of know-how before meant that I kind of knew what I was getting myself into. Not in a bad way, but I knew what I was getting myself into, and I came prepared, which made it so much more comfortable kind of coming into the culture. But obviously you mentioned Jason earlier, and he's a little bit further along in the process than Jodie. So his next two things are the 1 month review and then the 3 month review. What's the importance of that ongoing feedback, do you think?
I think the importance of that is that everybody within our team has a voice, and therefore that makes them very aware in those early stages there is a platform and that you can be heard and listened to. Now there are regular one-to-ones with everybody else in the team, but it's giving that early stage to just go, look, this might be a bit abnormal. Tell us. Like you might have already start to recognise how you can fit and how it could be a real positive, but there's possibly also some doubts and things kicking in, because human nature, we're going, change is scary. Yeah. So, like, just have a platform to talk and just go, this is how things are at. I think what's really important that happens in those reviews, and particularly happens much more strongly in the 3 month review, is there's feedback from the rest of the team. Yeah. Positive and negative.
Definitely, yeah.
But it's good, like if it was all positive, then like we're all human beings. We're aware that we're not perfect.
Yeah.
We're going to have things we need to work on.
Yeah.
Being able to hear that in a controlled environment where it's said with love and care might be difficult to hear at the time, but actually you can go away from that and you can just go, okay, how can I interpret my own actions or behaviours that are showing that maybe that isn't what I intend, but now I can do something about it.
Yeah.
And in the positive respect, people don't like to give positive feedback.
Yeah. And people don't like hearing it either. Like,
no, it's embarrassing.
Yeah, it's like
both ways.
Cringe.
Yeah. So actually being able to sit there, the person who's delivering the feedback normally isn't delivering their feedback, they're delivering other people's.
Yeah.
So it's a much more comfortable thing that you can just both go, oh wow, that's really nice, and that somebody's recognised that.
Because it's nice to hear, isn't it, that
Yeah.
you're doing a good job.
Yeah, it's just hard to say directly to somebody's face.
Yeah.
Which it feels so wrong that should be the case, but that's reality.
It's just human nature. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I think that having the voice and being able to be heard, like everybody has the opportunity. You raised this the other day, and actually ended up not necessarily being as big as what you thought it was. You said that our discovery call process needs improving.
Yeah.
Like you felt it was broken.
Yeah.
The very fact that, I don't know, just over 3 months that you've been here, but you're able to now already recognise and go, there's something that could be broken.
Yeah.
And this is the environment where they would rather hear that it was broken than you just kept quiet and went, yeah, they're just not going to take this well if it was said.
Yeah.
So you're able to come to, and we just went, okay, let's just jump on a call, and we go through it.
Yeah.
Worked out what was going on, and then she went, actually, it's not quite as broken as what we thought.
Yeah.
We just do this little minor improvement.
Yeah.
But that little minor improvement could be the difference between, because there were some dropped calls.
Yeah.
So that could be the difference between those dropped calls happening and not happening.
Yeah.
But unless you're brave enough to go, this could be broken, nothing moves forward. And if we stand still and everybody else around us moves forward, we're going backwards.
Yeah.
So you have to be that brave person to be able to stand up and go, I think this could be a problem. But our job as business owners, and then also down to the leadership team and down to the rest of the team, particularly when there's new recruits, is make everybody feel that that's okay.
If they can, yeah.
Yeah. Like you're not going to be, it's not a shoot the messenger type situation. Like you didn't break it. It's happened. You feel like it.
Yeah.
There's a gap within the process or the system. You might even know you don't even know what the solution is. You just know that there's a problem.
There's a problem, yeah.
But we can brainstorm a solution if we know what the problem is.
Yeah, definitely. And if you were to kind of summarise, or what would be the first steps a business owner should take in improving their recruitment process? Like the main 3 things, if you would.
I think it's clear you need to have a culture, and you need to know what you're recruiting for, because if you don't have a defined culture, you can't test for it.
Yeah, there's no standardisation. Like you don't know what you're actually.
No, and like so many places have a culture, and what they do is they just go and stick the values up on the wall, and that's it. Mm-hmm. Like our values aren't like you can't see them. Like they are around, you could go and find them, but the fact is, in my opinion, they're lived and they're breathed all the time.
Yeah. And
most of the feedback you will get is how well you lived or you didn't live the values. It's usually not related to skills. It's back to those values. So those values are really, really important in terms of step 1. I think step 2 is actually a great advert. I think most people just use the same job advert as everybody else, and that there's no real way to stand out. So just remember what you're trying to do, and you're trying to stand out to that one candidate. If you want the best candidate, you've got to appeal to them in the first place, for them want to even read your job advert, to then even bother applying. Particularly if you're going to put multiple things in place, like you want them to do skills tests, you want them to do multiple interviews. Yeah. Like you've got to be able to sell it to them. Yeah. That they go, okay, I'm willing to put that effort in. Process, yeah. It's worth the pain, of going through that process to be able to get to the other side.
Yeah.
So I think a clear advert that appeals to the right people. And then I think a plan, like what you're actually going to do when they arrive. Like the last thing you can do is put all that effort into getting the right person, and they arrive, and then you go, oh, we don't actually know what we're going to do with you. Like, you might not have perfection. Like the role that you're doing today is probably not the role you came in and thought you were going to be doing. You certainly didn't think you'd be sat here doing a podcast. But we knew the baseline of what we wanted to achieve.
Yeah.
And so we knew, and we could very quickly say to you that actually achieve these goals. I think I told you day one, be nosy, answer the phone.
Yeah.
If you can do those two things, you're winning. And we'll work on from there.
Yeah.
And new things get dripped in. So I think it's you need to have the defined culture. You need to actually appeal to the right people, and then you actually need to know what process you're going to be following once they arrive to make them feel welcome, feel part of the team, as quickly as possible. You don't want somebody new feeling like an outsider for longer than they need to, longer than they should.
Yeah. Anything else you'd like to say about recruitment? Anything else you think people should know about the process of recruitment?
I think probably just a reflection on my own element. Recognize when you might be the problem. Like, my ability to read people quickly isn't great.
Yeah.
I need time, and realistically an interview process doesn't allow that. And my mind constantly says, why would somebody turn up like fake or not real or not be themselves?
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't, if I was going to an interview, I'd just be me.
Yeah.
But there are people who are very good at, they can pretend to be something for a short period of time.
Yeah.
And we've certainly had that where we've recruited people and they've arrived and then you've gone, whoa, that's not who we saw in an interview.
Yeah.
And therefore know to get out of the way.
Yeah.
Recognise the people that you've got around you and the skills that they have, and let them do their thing, and just trust.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Leaky Bucket podcast. I'd love it if you could help spread the message by clicking subscribe and leaving a review. Also, please do reach out to me on LinkedIn and let me know your thoughts on this episode. You can also find more info and links in the show notes below. See you next time. Coming next week on the Leaky Bucket podcast. Performance monitoring. What even is it? We're going to go through what it is, why you do it, what my thoughts on it are, what to actually track, how to track it, and then how to even take things to the absolute next level. Maybe you're performing below. Right? What if there's a little trick in it that actually it makes you think like it's working? Actually, you've just lost £500 this month. Is this what you expected to happen? So making a plan and then just setting out on it and just don't check how you're getting on, it's just foolish. Like if it was me, I'd soon rather know after 3 months and stop there and stop making a mistake than wait till 9 months and then change everything. The trend is your friend. If you don't monitor it, then you don't know.